Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. You're watching some experienced South Africa, and we're racing Aussie V8s down under, and we're on, if I can get my track information correct again, and of course now everything's going to, there we go, I've got my stuff back. So we're currently busy with qualifying at Barbagallo, if I've pronounced that correctly. It's a track situated in Wanneroo, Australia, and you can now see everyone going around the track on their outlap to get going for qualifying. My name is Johan Karinas. I'll be your commentator for the evening. For those of you in the YouTube channel, good evening everyone. I see Flipper, Scott Heidemann, evening guys, looking forward to having you. And also, someone else also commenting there. So, we've got our first few outlaps coming in, and it's looking really fast, under 1 minute. I haven't really gotten an opportunity to look at all of the times during practice, but I'm seeing that a lot of the best laps are going to be underneath the 1 minute mark for at least the first 7 positions, I think. Oh, that's already better. Right, so everyone already getting in a fairly quick lap. We see Donnie van Rooyen leading the pack, so we'll quickly jump to him, and as we see someone going off the track there. I haven't really met these gentlemen. It's been, I'd say this tournament has been fairly quick in the making, and we'll still have some technical difficulties, but it's quite exciting to get this up and going. I also apologize. You can see that being down under, we're so far down under that I've lost some of my textures, but we'll see that that's sorted out in the next stream. Right. So we've got Ian Upton outperforming Donnie for pole position. We still have a few drivers that need to set proper laps, so we'll get going there as Ian now encounters a bit of traffic. But yeah, I'm also kind of getting used to all of my tools, so apologies if I'm not on all of the action as it should be, but it should only get better from here onwards. Right, so then looking at the rest of the pack, so it's Donnie van Rooyen, Melvin Goos, Rowan Bauer, if that's how you pronounce it. Just as I say that, Timo Smit also jumping into position 4 there. Then we've got Sean Webber, Dylan Versace, Jamie, Dennis Mitchell, who's kind of in charge of, I think it's Dennis Mitchell, yeah, getting all of this going alongside Mornay Deploy. So thank you to those two gentlemen right there. Then Peter Frobler, Peter Keldenhuis, that's not going to get confusing at all. Thankfully we've got the surnames on the screen, so that makes it a bit easier. Sean Johnson kind of jumping in there. Then Herman Nieuwoud, Rian van der Westhuizen, Donnie Stander, Gavi Goos, Marius, I'm not sure what his surname is, and then Jason Craig and Kyle Heidemann. So apologies if I missed someone as you jumped up in the standings there. But yeah. Oof. And some people finding the off tracks quite tricky there. And I haven't seen a lap of the circuit myself, so let's maybe jump to someone that I haven't had on camera yet. let's see, Sean Weber has not featured yet. And let's actually go on board with him and see what a lap of this track looks like. Oh, and unfortunately he's getting out of shape there, so we'll leave him to his race there. Going on to Dennis Mitchell. So it seems like it's very easy to lose the rear on this track, and drivers really need to be careful. As you can see, they're nursing the throttle through the corner, picking up speed for the straight, and this is now a tricky one. You really don't want to outsteer your back end and slide off into the barriers there. Then it's this uphill blind corner. This is really tricky, especially with the braking zone being very close to it. So can we see him just kind of cruising through the corner, just keeping that speed up, keeping that momentum. Again, blind crest into a very fast right-hander, it would seem. Okay, a bit slower than I anticipated, but that's what you get for driving too much F3. Again, blind crest, so expect possible incidents with people going off track. Luckily, no braking zone after this crest, so that's a bit of a respite. Right-hander, and we're back at the main straight. So fairly tricky track for the cars that you've got here, since you don't really have that much downforce. I'm going to jump back to Timo Smith, who's unfortunately in the pits, and everyone I'm jumping to is now in the pits. So Dylan Fasaki, you can see how he's running through here. I'm still having a bit of trouble configuring my Delta apps, so unfortunately I don't have that information for you yet. Otherwise I would have loved to check who's up on their Deltas at this current point in time. Still, yeah, 16 and a bit minutes left of qualifying, so there can still happen. There's still a fair bit that can happen. Unfortunately, Fasaki taking a very short trip into the pits there. The problem, they're running the boost livery. You would have seen that feature in the kind of trailer video that we had at the start. Thank you, Mornay Deploy, for that, by the way. It looks excellent. It's kind of what convinced me to jump in at the last minute and to come commentate for you guys. So Probler managing a 56.68, and the times are very close for the starting portion of the pack. Seeing that you've got Peter Probler here in position 11 and Nivo behind him, and it's basically a second, 1.2 seconds from Oliver Rowan at the start of the pack. So it's a very small gap for half of the field, but that's to be expected from such a short lap. That being said, there's a lot of opportunity for mistakes here. If you make mistakes during the race, it is going to cost you, and it's possibly going to cost someone else some time as well. Track temperature at the moment, I haven't mentioned that to you yet, is sitting at 36 degrees Celsius. That is fairly hot. Air temperature is sitting at 25 degrees Celsius, so that tarmac has been baking in the sun for quite a while. But we'll see how it affects the guys as we go along. Donny van Rooyen, in the meantime, has retaken pole. Oh, and fortunately, some trouble on the track there. And he's up and running again. Fasaki jumping ahead, overtaking the Ploy in his position. Also, something of note, the top three runners in the pack are driving completely different cars, which is a good thing to see. But then after third position, the rest of the drivers are all driving the Ford Mustang. So whether that might be a dominant force in this track, we're yet to see. So now jumping to Timo Smith for a bit. You can see how the Ford Mustang performs around this track. Maybe take a bit of a cockpit camera while we're at it. Again, apologies for the issues with the shaders. I know it's quite distracting at the moment. Oh, and fortunately someone going off there. So the board does seem like it's got a bit more power. I don't know if it just looks faster through there. That can be tricky in the race. If you've got someone ahead of you like that, that kind of complicates your braking zone, because you might have the speed on them, but if you brake and lock up, that can set you off track. So you really want to manage your gaps and choose the places where you start to follow very closely. Can also be very dangerous for a driver to kind of park their car on an apex here. So they should just try not to hold up each other up too much. Looking at the YouTube channel, I see someone shouting there for Melvin. Okay, I'm not going to be able. Mossanayan Gaming. We see Tommy Leary Moss shouting for Goos. That being Melvin Goos. Also, I think Tommy Leary Moss, welcome from the... I've seen you in some of the other driving communities, so welcome to you. Thank you for the compliment, Langley Matt. Nice to have you here. Someone shouting for S. Weber, Craig Hickel, and then the guys from earlier today. So, jumping around the pack a bit, I have not looked at Rian van der Westhuizen yet, and checking my notes, he's driving the Nissan. So, a bit of a man after my heart. I also love Nissan cars, although I drive the Bucky, but it's nice seeing a Nissan race car around. So very happy that he's driving that one. And the pack is bunching up a bit. It's not going to be conducive for good qualifying times, but it makes my job a ton easier. Having some people on screen. It's also really difficult in these situations when you've got some of the drivers that are just faster than you, but you're also trying to get in your laps, and it can put a lot of pressure on you and kind of force some mistakes. So as I say that, Rian van der Westhuizen gives us a nice solid lap, jumps up to 15th position, and right after that his concentration just kind of leaves the building. But I think he can be very happy with that. That's a really nice improvement. So I'll leave him to it. Jumping around again. Let's have a look at Melvin Goos again, since he's got some fans shouting for him. And I'll try some of the other cameras for you a bit. Let's see if that's a bit of a better view. Also running the boost livery, Melvin Goos is running also the Ford Mustang. I didn't really recognize here, so it's three different cars, I think. It's the Ford Mustang, then you've got the Nissan, and then you've got the Holden. Oh, unfortunately, Go's going off there. Just jumping to Peter Krobler. He's also kind of finding him in between a whole bunch of cars at the moment. He's got the gap to put in some nice times, but with a small circuit and 19 drivers on track, it is going to be difficult to find a space. But sitting at a nice, comfortable 56, 189, that's very decent. But he is very close to Bauer, so he might try to get that last few tenths out of the bag, or even hundredths. Yeah, I'm seeing Melvin Go's actually saying hi on the YouTube channel. Melvin, you should be doing qualifying. But yeah, best of luck to you. Jumping around to Jamie 333. I'm not sure what your surname is, but Agent 333 running in a white and purple Nissan. So we'll see what he can do here. He's got some cars in front of him coming up on his next lap. You can see a bit further ahead, just while we're giving some screen time to Jamie. Mornay Deploy and Dylan Versage are having one hell of a battle in terms of their times. With 6 minutes to go, I think it's jumped to Dylan Versage at the moment. So he's now under a lot of pressure to maintain this gap ahead of Mornay, and unfortunately goes off, and that's holding up Jamie that we were just on board with. So that's going to be frustrating for both drivers. Tommy Leary was saying to Melvin also he needs to get on with qualifying. Melvin, you're sitting at fourth. You only need that 0.032 to get another position. So come on, man, you can do it. Dylan Versage coming up on some traffic in front of him. Oh no, sorry, I think that might be... Yeah, that's Jamie running in front of him. And Jamie making sure he gives him the space. Hats off to you, Jamie. That's very, very nice of you. Knowing he's holding up Dylan, so you also probably decided that the lap's not worth keeping. So yeah, thank you for being so nice to the other drivers there, Jamie. Okay, Dylan, we're going to see what you're up to here. Mornay Deploy is still sitting in the pits. It's 5 minutes left to go. I'm not sure whether he's just trying to see if he can find a easy enough gap. We do have something for looking at the live timings. So he might be utilizing that to see who's around the track at the moment, or he might have someone in his ear. I don't know if a wife or girlfriend might be his pit crew at the moment. So Versage coming around. And looking very solid and consistent. I can't really say without seeing the deltas, but so far it's looking good. And that's not going to be an improvement on his time, but he's still getting a little bit of practice in. looking around the pack a bit, we've got... I don't think I've ever put Donny Thunder on, so let's put him on for a bit. That looks like a Ford Mustang. And I am correct, so he's running the Monster Mustang. Unfortunately, someone hitting the Marshall station there. I hope he's okay. But yeah, beautiful looking car. Don't know how quickly he had to jump on that livery. And we've got someone in the Caterpillar livery next to him. And he's so close that I can't really... I think that's Ian Upton right behind him. Just going to change cameras to double check. But... no, that's not him. Yeah, some interesting livery on here. Okay, 3 minutes left of qualifying. Mornay Deploy is still sitting in the pits. I'm not sure whether he just had a screamer of a lap and he decided, okay, I'm not going to do better than that. Let me just quickly check what is Mornay's best time. So his best lap is the 55.848. So I think he's kind of calling it a day and just sorting out his setup for the races. We've got 2 races that are going to happen. We've got the first and second race. So after the first race, do not disconnect. We still have some action coming your way. Yeah, these guys are looking fairly solid and consistent. With sim racing, you are going to have some guys go off track just due to the nature that we're not all Lewis Hamilton, and as we saw today with the F1, even Lewis Hamilton can make mistakes from time to time. So it is going to happen, but hopefully during the race the guys keep it clean and we see some high quality racing. So Mornay Deploy has actually come out of the pits, so we'll keep an eye on him and let's see how he manages the track. He seems to be done with his outlap, coming around the last corner. Well, I think that was the last corner. No, sorry, that's onto the back straight. And we've had an accident on the main straight, so hopefully that car is not on the track. Okay, let's see what Mornay can do with this. Going into the first corner, it's going to be tricky with just managing keeping up the speed. Oh, and some severe oversteer he has to correct. That lap is going to be in the bin, so it's a bit too little, too late, so he's going to have to abandon that lap, and Dylan Fasaki is going to stay safe in his position. Meanwhile, up ahead, Donny van Rooyen sitting in a comfortable 55.4. That's a very solid pole for him in the Red Bull livery. That is, for those of you that haven't seen one yet, it's a Holden ZB. I've not really heard of the Holden manufacturer yet. Those of you that are a bit more familiar with the series might know it. But yeah. So that seems to be the positions at the moment. I'm just going to quickly get our interim overlay on. Oh, sorry. We still have a little bit of time left. So yeah. Mitchell sitting in a comfortable 5th. Thelma Hutton shouting for Donny van Rooyen. Saying, let's go Donny van Rooyen. So yeah, he's definitely also got some support here. It's nice to actually see some fans watching. Okay, so we're just going to have a bit of a wait period while all the drivers sort out their setups for the race, make sure they've got enough fuel. We have seen people in other leagues run out of fuel, so it's fingers crossed everyone's fueled up correctly. It is a short enough race. We shouldn't expect to see pit stops unless someone has a major accident and something flies off the car. It's going to be two 20-minute races, so my water supply will probably still keep me. But yeah, drivers, engineers seem to have the cars fueled up, and they're about to head out to the grid. Okay, and we're starting the race in... let me just dump my car to the pits. You do not want to see me race on this track. Okay, so we've got the cars gridded up. I'll just quickly try and find the appropriate angle. And we are ready to get this race started. 20 seconds to go, or 25 seconds to go. Cars are revving up the engines, and in anticipation for the race. I can only imagine the amounts of butterflies in everyone's stomachs at the moment. Got the lights. Last time I saw this, the lights went quickly. Now it's a long, agonizing wait. Holding for ready, and race kicks off. And it seems like a fairly clean race. We've already got some drivers moving up in the field, and everyone kind of giving one another some space. Where we've got Barbagallo jumping up a position, we've got Aussie dropping down in the standings a bit, kind of getting called out with the race start. But Donny van Rooyen with a very comfortable lead, and the rest of the pack following. I'm just going to jump to Passat because there seems to be some interesting racing going on here at the moment. And as I say that, the gaps start opening up, heading down the back straight. It does seem like Goos has unfortunately had a bit of an accident, so he's dropped back in the pack. But the rest of the drivers seem to have gotten through okay. Jumping back to the front. Ian staying within a second of Van Rooyen. He's going to want to stay in contact with that car. You don't really have that much air on these cars, but I do suspect that that hole being punched in the air by the lead car is going to create a lot of opportunities for Ian Upton as they go down the back straight. And he is within almost 5/10, so that's going to give him a bit of a slipstream. He's just going to have to set up the gap for the rest of the race. Further back, Bo are getting really close. He's trying to make the move stick on Mitchell. He's on the inside, and is he going to outbrake him? Yes, he does. Oh, and unfortunately, I couldn't really clearly see whether that was a shunt or not, but he seems to be slowing down slightly. That's a bit frustrating there for Mitchell. Meanwhile, looking back towards the front of the pack, Ian Upton putting the pressure on Donny van Rooyen. Although Donny is getting some good exits out of these crucial corners for the straights. So we'll see whether Upton is able to keep up with that. But for now, all Upton really needs to do is put that pressure on Van Rooyen, kind of drain his mental energy. You can see some blistering lap times being set. 56 point... Last lap... no, 55.9. So we can... I think that's... Yeah, that's... that is actually Daniel Van Rooyen's best lap of the race and qualifying. So the guys are already putting in quick laps. Further down the back, the cars are spreading out a bit. We have Dennis Mitchell, who's on a bit of a drive back after that contact that they had earlier. And he's running in the Ford Mustang there. It's got S. Johnson in front of him, Sean Johnson. So we'll see whether he's got the pace to overtake. Johnson is also putting the pressure on Jason Craig there. So we'll see what happens there, whether he needs to defend or whether he's going to focus his attention on attacking. And it's such a tricky corner for overtaking. But Mitchell making the move on Johnson there. So Mitchell moving up in the pack on his drive back and putting Johnson's plans of attacking Craig on hold for a bit. Meanwhile, we're seeing some interesting things happen up front. So we've had a position swap between Upton and Gous. I'm not sure what has happened there. Gous dropping back a bit, getting overtaken there by Timo Schmidt. Oh, and he's gone off track there. So Gous having a really difficult time there. So Gous is now under pressure, but also within striking distance of Timo Schmidt. These positions 2, 3, 4 and 5 are really nicely grouped together. Oh, and that's one hell of a drift. Is he going to be able to catch it? Yes, he does. And oh, that backs up the pack completely. That was well caught there from Melvin Gous. I see Tommy Leary Moss saying the stream is a bit blurry. I'll just quickly check on my side. I am streaming at 720p. Unfortunately, with the chip shortages, I haven't been able to upgrade my CPU yet. So that might be if you're running on something like a 4K screen. I do apologize for that. If it's more blurry than that, then just please let me know. Looking back at the action. So Gous is now kind of off on his own. Daniel Van Rooyen up in front is kind of giving himself a bit of breathing room. He's got a 1.2 seconds of a gap, so he's out of the drafting range for Upton. So now he just needs to make sure that he doesn't make any mistakes, that he keeps up his pace. Dylan Versace in one hell of a battle here with Rowan Bauer. And all of these cars very close. And some good close racing here. I keep losing my notes on the name of this track. Down the back straight they go, nice and close. And again, it's so easy to lose the back end on this on this turn for the back straight. And if you slide out that back end, you're going to lose tons of time, and that's not something that you want to do here, since you're going to put yourself under immense pressure. Just going to jump a bit further. Rowan Bauer. Oh, and we've had Gous again. He's had some rotten luck there, spinning out on track on the main straight. So that is really unfortunate. Might also be that these tires are cooking now. If you're choosing the wrong compound, or if you're not making the right setup choices, you might get caught out with these temperatures. Mornay Deploy doing a really good job of absorbing the pressure here from Rowan Bower, and just maintaining his composure. This group seems to be the battle to watch. Up ahead, the leader, Donny van Rijn, is just running away with the race, but we're going to stay here. Just keep an eye on these guys. Peter Grobler also coming into the mix here, as Bo actually runs wide, so that's going to give Versailles a real good opportunity to look at attacking him down the straights. You can see him running wide again. He's kind of had a knock to his confidence, and it's really difficult getting your head back on rails after that and saying, okay, it's happened. Let's just go from here and try and improve again, kind of building up to that limit again. And he seems to be doing exactly just that, getting some nice exits, just keeping the gap between him and Versailles at a comfortable level. The pack is spreading out, although as I say that, I see the start of front runners actually bunching back together. So now we've got these guys to watch. Ian Upton is also in, as I've swapped, he's actually overtaken Donny van Rijn, so he's done a superb job of grabbing that lead. But the difficult thing that he's going to experience now, and that Donny van Rijn is showing us, once you've overtaken, you need to absorb that pressure that you've been piling on for the entire race. So that's going to come back double-fold. You can see Donny van Rijn getting nice and close. Is he going to attack at the end of the main straight here? We'll wait and see. Got some traffic coming up ahead. Not exactly sure who that is. You can see Donny van Rijn just keeping his nose close to Upton, just telling him, listen, I'm here, and making sure that his opponent knows that he's under threat, kind of trying to force that error. That back marker doing a really nice job of staying out of the way, making sure that the front runners don't lose pace. So yeah, it's looking really good. Donny van Rijn does look like he's got some really good lines going through these corners. But is that enough to keep him within range of Upton? Also got Timo Smith coming into the mix. He might be putting pressure on Van Rijn, or just utilizing him to kind of stay with the leaders of the race, kind of utilizing that draft to stay within range and kind of run away from the rest of the pack. But yeah, these three front runners seem to look solid at the moment. Back further in the pack, I see some action going around with Jason Craig as he's catching up with Jamie 333, Agent 333. Oh, that's wide through that corner. Just struggling to maintain grip, but keeping it on track and catching up with Jamie. So you can clearly see how easy it is for a mistake to cost you so much of the gap that you've been trying to build between you and your opponent. And this corner onto the back straight is also really important. Looking around, you can see Mornay Deploy putting the pressure on Peter Grobler in that Coca-Cola car. actually got 2 red cars at the moment, so another back mark and just making sure that they stay out of the way. So Peter Krobler doing a superb job again, absorbing that pressure. But the Untitled's play showing that even though he had a slightly slower pace during qualifying, he's coming out as a formidable competitor during the race. Looking around, this is still the closest battle, and within 3 tenths there's a very close gap. He needs to just manage that and make sure that he doesn't get held up at an apex, or that Krobler catches him out in the corner. So you can see him dropping back, just getting that bit of a run through the corner so that he can then stay under the spoiler of Krobler down the back straight. You can see that gap just going down closer to 3 tenths and onto the main straight. You can see Krobler getting a bit out of shape with a bit of oversteer. That's going to play in favor of the play. The play again not really finding the opportunity to overtake there, running very close on the corner, close to the apex on the corner, and making it a bit more difficult for himself. Van Rooyen is also on a man on a mission. He wants that position back from Upton. These two have run away from the rest of the pack. Timo Smith dropping back to a 4-second gap, so he's unfortunately had a mistake somewhere. And these two right here just fighting for that position. Just jumping back to Dylan Versaghi. It seems like Bo jumped into the pits there. Not exactly sure. Van Rooyen fighting for that position. And we can maybe just see how much pressure he's under to kind of keep up with here with Upton. You can see furiously shifting down the gears there. And a hint of oversteer there. That's going to cost him a lot of time down the back straight. It's very easy when you're following someone to kind of lose track of where you want to brake, to keep your shifts gradual. He seems to have been able to carry a lot more speed through that turn, but he got held up by Upton. But Upton also kind of utilizing the apexes to his advantage, just blocking the momentum that Van Rooyen is able to generate. Both cars with oversteer, so that some nice car control there, keeping them on the track. And Upton running wide now. I'm not sure whether this is mind games, whether he's actually feeling the pressure. Jumping to Upton, when you can see how close that is. But Rooyen just shooting past him, but that's off the track. That is unfortunate for Van Rooyen. He's back on the track, so he's been able to maintain his control on the car, but you can see him going very slowly. So that might have just sealed the deal for Upton. Further down, Untitled's play, putting the pressure on Peter Krobler, just sitting under his wing, and he's going for the move. Sees is not going to make the outbraking maneuver, but again, if you're Peter Krobler, seeing that in your mirror, you have to feel the pressure from that. And Krobler also has his own fight. They've caught up with Timo Smith, so it's also now going to put a lot of pressure on Krobler, since he might get held up and might have to defend his position a bit more aggressively. Fortunately, we've had Upton go off the track there. That is very unfortunate for him. So Van Rooyen retaking the lead. just going to quickly take a sip. Right. Monet staying behind Cobbler, but I think he might have made the decision to rather just stay in the slipstream of Cobbler so that they can catch Timo Smith and maybe get even a better position out of it. We'll have to wait and see. But we know that they're getting dangerously close to Timo Smith. Cobbler now sitting as close to Timo as Pasaki was, or Deploy was sitting to him. Apologies, my camera hasn't popped over yet. There we go. Unfortunately, as I do that, Cobbler loses control and goes off track and loses quite a few positions. Now is Dylan Fasaki putting the pressure on Monet Deploy, kind of using that chaos to catch up with them. So how is this going to look between the two of them? I'm just going to jump down the pack a bit, show some of the other guys. So there's Mitchell now finding himself in a nice opportunity to fight for position here with Upton, or he might actually just utilize the pace of Upton if he can recognize that this is one of the faster cars, and maybe use that to his advantage to gain some positions. So staying nice and close there, getting a bit out of shape on the, so Upton getting a bit out of shape out of that exit of the corner, so his confidence is wavering a bit. You can see just how close Mitchell is getting to him. That is extremely close. That's under 2/10. Mitchell going for the braking maneuver, but decides not to and just tucks in back behind Upton. So we'll see how it goes from here. Rest of the pack again fairly spread out. But Jason Craig, I'm being a bit... Sorry, it's difficult to jump back from this when you've got cars this close to one another. So keep an eye on these guys. Oh, and unfortunately, we've got someone losing it there. That's Webber. Sean Webber going off the track. It's so easy to lose it. Mitchell making the attack on the inside, gets shut out by Upton, and that's going to cause him to fall back a bit. I apologize. The race is actually over. So your finishers are Donny van Rooyen, Timo Smith, Monet Deploy rounding out the podium at position 3. Dylan Fasaki, Rowan Bauer, Peter Grobler, Ian Upton in position 7, Dennis Mitchell, Sean Webber, Melvin Ghost position 10, Peter Collins, Sean Johnson, Jason Craig, Herman Nieuwoud, Jamie, Adrian 333 in position 15, Colin Stander 16, Marius 17, Rian van der Westhuizen 18. I can see some cars doing victory donuts in the background. Some drivers having to take some evasive action. So now we're just waiting for the race to kind of tick over. Not sure who's still on the track. Okay. So while we're waiting for that, it's been a very very interesting race. See, some congratulations for Donny van Rooyen, making some awesome comebacks from his mistakes. what's the name gaming saying Melvin playing out some drifting moves. And yeah, he did have some interesting situations there. I'm not sure, Craig, what you're asking with who HOP, but encouraging Sean there. Go, Sean, go. Yeah, we're just waiting now for the server to tick over to jump the cars to the new grid. Just going to put on some music for us. While we're waiting. I know. Apologies, it's the problem with the new stream. I didn't really have the music configured at the moment for this specific scene. Right, we're busy with the countdown. It's only 40 seconds more, or another 40 seconds to wait until we get started. So the engineers are just kind of utilizing the knowledge that they've got from the cars, just making some changes if need be. And I made the mistake of not asking More United Play whether it is a reverse grid for the second race. So we'll see whether Donny van Rooyen drops back to 10th position on the grid or to the back of the pack, or whether everyone's just going to hold on to their positions. But if that is the case, we might see someone getting a bit of an advantage from that. Right, drivers are gridding up. Okay, so it does seem to be that way. We've got, just trying to find one of the specific drivers. But we've got Javi Goos sitting on pole position. And then Rian van der Westhuizen next to him. So that's going to create a really interesting start. And yeah, it is reverse grid. I'm seeing Donny van Rooyen very close to the back. And we're off for the second race. Oh. Apologies. This is what happens when you stream. A lot of avoiding action taken by some of the drivers there. So Gelder is already dropping back a few positions. Oof, and a bit of a shunt there. That's going to make Mr. 333 very angry. Car's just losing it all over the place. Rian still maintaining a gap away from all of the chaos. Dying Thunder kind of at the start of the circus here. And then further behind, you can see Peter Gelder is kind of finding himself in the middle of everything. And some shunts going on here. That's Donny Thunder, unfortunately being shoved off track, and I think Versace also losing it on the apex there. Some utter chaos with the reverse grid start. Didn't think it would be that difficult, but it's going to open the door for some unsuspecting drivers. And I'm just going to quickly get my screen up and running again. So, closest drivers, Mitchell in the background there, going for a move. can see him just sitting behind the wing of Donny van Rooyen. Position changes all around. Ian Upton overtaking Jamie 333. But the pack does seem to have settled a bit. Up ahead, Melvin Goos is making a move on Van der Westhuizen. Apologies. And he seems to have made a mistake, so that's going to put him under pressure from Webber now. We see Van der Westhuizen also running a bit wide. The fresh tires kind of catching these guys out a bit. We'll see down the main straight. It's a 0.3 gap between Goos and Van der Westhuizen. And unfortunately, Goos outbreaks himself a bit. Van der Westhuizen slows down through the apex, and that opens up the gap for the switchback. Goos is now on the outside. Is he going to have the grip? Yes, he is. And with his momentum, overtakes Van der Westhuizen. There is some stellar driving right there. And unfortunately, Van der Westhuizen losing it. The pressure getting to him a bit. Further down the pack, Peter Kaldenhuis also going for a move. And oh, a major shunt. Getting shunted from behind into the car in front. That is unfortunate for him. Lots of chaos here in the middle of the pack. Van der Westhuizen dropping back. Grobler dropping back. Geldenhuis dropping back. I'm struggling to keep track of this. And as Mitchell makes the move on Grobler being a bit slower, he hasn't completed the move quite yet. This is going to go into the turn. Is he going to be able to outbrake him? And Mitchell running up the inside. Grobler unfortunately going too wide for his for what's good for him, and opening up the gap for Timo Smits as well. Vossanayan Gaming saying, "Do your best, Melvin. Don't break it." And that is quite the challenge here at the moment. Alvin Goos sitting with a comfortable lead at the moment, 2 seconds. So surviving the chaos from the start of the race, that's helped him immensely. Dylan Pasaki also putting the pressure on Van Rooyen, kind of trying to see, can he get close enough to catch up. We see some cars up ahead. I'm just waiting for the gaps to appear before I can see whether that's a back marker or whether that's... No, that's actually Bo up ahead. And Van Rooyen losing control there. Something really interesting going on here. A lot of the cars struggling for control. I don't know if it's the pressure that's getting to them or whether it might be that something changed in terms of the grip levels of the track. The track temperature is sitting at... Let me just refresh that before I tell you. Jumping back to deploy as we're talking. Making a move on Nivote. Looking down the back straight. He's next to him. And decides to pull back behind. He's going to leave this for the main straight. Nivote running defensive and unfortunately not really having the momentum. And oh, that's unfortunate. Turning around deploy there. That's going to be very frustrating for him. Just jumping to Mitchell. Kind of running a race on his own. It might be what you want around here. Just having the clean air and having no one around you to bump into you. It's turned into more of a touring car race than a V8 race at the moment. Jamie still in a bit of a fight here with Upton. Two cars running very close together. Upton kind of finding himself in a difficult position in the middle of all of this chaos. So hopefully he can manage. Jamie wanting an opportunity to overtake here, running very close to Upton. It's going to make braking very difficult. And Jamie running wide, that's going to give Upton a bit of breathing room. And unfortunately, I see Melvin Ghost running wide at turn 1. That's dropped him back in the pack by 3 positions. And he's going to have to fight back from there. Around further ahead, Rowan Bower trying to make up the gap to Sean Webber, someone that we haven't really seen in the front of the pack. So this reverse grid has given these 2 races a golden opportunity here. Host running a very slow lap there, 103.1, probably due to his off in the first corner. We see some position changes happening all around. I'm going to jump back to Melvin Ghost to see how he tries to fight back from this mistake that he's made. It's also really difficult if you've cooked your tires. Kind of spinning off track like that can dump a whole lot of energy into your tires, and then getting them cooled down to acceptable levels is tricky, especially with the track sitting at 36 degrees Celsius. You can see Ghost kind of dropping back a little bit, probably just trying to settle into a bit more of a confidence zone. Peter Gelden is also running close, and unfortunately Nevo dropping back just as I switched there, so Nevo having a bit of a challenge controlling his car, but managing to keep it on track. Also see Jason, some changes happening between Jason Craig here, and we've got 3 cars down the straight. 2 of the cars behind him running too wide, and that's Deploy fighting back for position, and actually has the momentum to go up on the inside. That's a double pass for Deploy, and some really good driving there. Deploy fighting back from that shunt he's had earlier. Up in the pack, some action between Donnie van Rooyen and Sean Johnson. Running in the slip, going for the move up the inside. Is he going to be able to outbrake him? Are they going to be able to avoid contact? They leave the space, and yes, that's a clean overtake right there. Bower has actually caught up with Webber, but before we say that, Sean Johnson is now feeling the pressure here from Upton. Upton trying to make the drive back. So that's also going to be interesting to see. We've got a close group of people forming up behind Sean Webber at the front. So you can see 4 or 5 cars within visual range. Just as Bower tries to look up the inside, but Webber not giving him the gap, defending, making sure that he can't get past, and that's dropped Bower back a bit. Bower now also possibly under pressure from Fasaki, and as he runs a bit wide, he loses time. Also see Upton and Johnson swapping positions down in the field. But for now, we're going to stay here. We've got the 4 cars battling for podium positions. One mistake and you're out. So we'll see what happens from here. Webber, oh, and that's one hell of a drift from Fasaki, unfortunately off the track. That's going to drop him down. Host coming into 3rd position, Mitchell into 4th. So Host coming in contention. He's back at the front where he wants to be. Can he recover from a mistake and retake pole? We'll see. He's gotten close to Bower. Bower now having to think about possibly defending this attack. He's got a driver with him in space behind him, and running wide is not going to help him. This is now putting Bower in a very tricky situation. Can he maintain the consistency to kind of get away from Goos? And unfortunately, Goos making a mistake, falling back. So that's exactly what Bower might have wanted. And we can see Mitchell now coming a bit closer, but now the battle for the lead is between Webber and Bauer. Position swaps all around. Trying to see if there's a little gap somewhere. So Bauer running very close to Webber. Got some back markers coming into play, but they're keeping out of the way. So some nice courteous driving there. Webber having a bit of a slow apex there in turn 1, but it doesn't seem to have affected him too much. Bauer is getting held up here. Mitchell is catching up with them. So Bauer knows he needs to make an overtake at some point, otherwise he risks his second position. We've got some back markers coming into the play here. But seeing the battle behind him, he's keeping nicely out of the way. Yeah, Mitchell staying very close here. And Bauer going for the move on the inside and makes it stick. And we've got Mitchell following close behind. He's running side by side with Webber. And we'll see what happens here. But Webber able to retake the position. And we're running 3 wide out of the exit of turn 1. Some excellent racing here. No contact between the drivers yet. So they're doing really well to keep clear of one another. So you've got Bauer, Webber and Mitchell running for, all battling for first. Only 3/10 separating these drivers as they go onto the back straight. Webber trying to break the toe a bit on Mitchell. Mitchell trying on the inside. Can he make this stick? Some heavy braking going on there, but he's able to make it stick, but only for a second. Webber getting a good exit. Is he going to be able to keep the momentum around the outside? And yes, he does. Fortunately, running completely wide there. I'm not sure exactly what happened there. Mitchell taking second. And keeping up, keeping up with that battle. While that's going on, I'm going to jump to Upton. He's still fighting his way through the pack, but he hasn't really gotten past this portion of the pack. So it's been a bit tricky. There's a lot of cars going around everywhere. So the name of the game here is avoidance. And as we see a car just taking a bit more of a scenic route in the background there. I'm not sure exactly whose car that was. Jumping back to the start. Dennis Mitchell is still keeping up with Bauer. So we'll see what these guys can do. We've got 4.5 minutes left. So only 5 laps left, if I'm correct. We've got Craig Hickle shouting, come on, Sean. I've got no car sound. Let me just remedy that quickly. Oh no. I'm so sorry, guys. That's horrible. So, unfortunately, I've had the audio muted, so I do apologize for that. As I'm just talking with you, Mitchell taking the position 4 first. So yeah, I apologize that this first race has been without sound. That's on me. Mitchell and Bo duking it out here. Bo desperately wanting back that pole position. These cars are starting to slide a bit. The tire wear is going to go. Yeah, I apologize, Tom, on the YouTube channel. As I said, we kind of put this all together at the last minute. So next time I'll have some better scene transitions so that I don't accidentally mute the car audio when we transition between the races. Barbagallo's still fighting in 10th position. Ian Upton moving up to 9th. He's got, I think, 3 laps left. So Mitchell looking solid, building up a bit of a gap to Bauer. And as I say that, the gap kind of... Okay, it is fluctuating at around 0.8 seconds, so I'd call that comfortable. Barbagallo's in a bit of a sandwich here between Upton and Johnson. So, having a bit of a rough race. Langley Matt shouting, "Go Dennis!" Dennis Mitchell at the front, just maintaining that nice, comfortable gap. And you see, Armand Nivo, someone we haven't really kept an eye on, overtaking Jason Craig on the main straight, so securing 13th position for him. Jason Craig, unfortunately, having a bit of issues controlling his car. We're going into the final few laps. Dennis is opening up a very comfortable gap on Bo behind him. And they've got some back markers coming up. That is going to put a bit of pressure on Mitchell. And the rest of the pack fairly spread out. No action really going on except for Mornay Deploy, also fighting for position with Versace. But now we're going to stick here with the leaders. We're going to see, are they going to have trouble with the back markers, or is this going to be a sealed deal for Mitchell? You can see Mitchell there coming up on the back marker. And he's going to have to start to think about overtaking here. If he gets held up, it's going to put a lot of pressure on him. 40 seconds left to go. I think this is going to be the final lap where they're going to cross the line after the timer is finished. Mitchell looking really solid. Bo staying nice and close. All got those back markers, and we've got quite a few here. Jumping back to Mitchell. I do think this is going to be a sealed deal for him. And unfortunately, I don't know whether that was contact with the back marker. Okay, so we've got the final lap. So one more lap to go. It's unfortunately a lot of pressure on the back marker here. Oh no, that's Bauer actually spinning out. Guys, the race hasn't ended yet. I don't know if you're spinning out thinking the race is done, but there's one lap to go. Mitchell making sure he's got 8-second gap. A lot of chaos happening there. So we'll see what happens from here. I'm going to jump to Upton, but Melvin Goos putting a lot of pressure on him. So these three cars, Ian Upton, Melvin Goos and Donnie van Rooyen. So they're keeping nice and close together. You can see the back end stepping out a little bit there for Goos. They're having a bit of trouble with that car of his. There's Mitchell, takes first place, followed by Timo Smith, Sean Webber, Peter Probler, and going into the last straight of the track, Goos getting extremely close to Upton, but that's not going to be enough. And I can only imagine the frustration for Bauer losing out so close to the finish of the race. Pedro Caldena is bringing home a respectable 12th. have my Nevo behind them, and we've got some cars also dropping off the server now. Someone is doing victory donuts. I'm not exactly sure who. I know, they're just revving their cars. But yeah, thank you everyone for watching. It's been some exciting racing, and everyone just doing some victory burnouts, not donuts, but burnouts. So yeah. Yeah, thank you for watching. It's been a lot of support here on the YouTube channel, especially for a series that's kind of just jumped out of nowhere. It's really nice to see all of the support. And yeah, congratulations there for the winners. Unfortunately, we haven't really had time to set up everything for the interviews. Next time we will. But for now, we've got the next race coming up on the 13th of June. It's Winton Raceway. And it's going to be interesting to see how the series develops from there. We've seen some solid racing from quite a few drivers. So it's going to be interesting to see how the championship battle unfolds as we go along. Thank you for staying with me. Sorry about all of the mistakes, but next time I will strive to do a bit better. Thank you for all of the interactions. It's nice not talking just to yourself. And we'll see you guys and gals on the 13th of June.